It allows us to have full-time band, full-time choir, full-time ag, full-time business, full-time face, all right? And those are the things that make a school. But then everybody's got to call in on these things. We all wear several hats. Most high school teachers have 6 to 7 preps. I have 9. I teach a couple classes at the same time. We're a small budget, but we just did a beautiful building addition. I got 2 classrooms now. It's awesome. We have a STEAM room and a telepresence room. It is very exciting. But coming back to why you're here, it started with a simple conversation. The science teacher came to me and she said, kids think that STEM is just, solving some chemical equations and grinding some math problems. And if this was an hour-long presentation, I would have put some sort of math on the board that you couldn't do that a freshman could. Maybe like x squared plus 7x plus 12 and tell you, hey, factor this. Maybe you guys could. But almost everybody else could. I was an engineer for a dozen years. I never factored a second-order equation. Ever. So what are we trying to do with students? We were talking about this. And we were really concerned because if you put this in an honors level class, I taught some physics some years ago in the district, and I had 16 students out of 100. So I was giving 16 students these great opportunities. We built catapults, we did these things. But the way my science teacher and I were talking about it, left 84 students without. And that's something Mary and I started talking about. We just started talking about the idea that we're not getting everybody. And I worked in industry a long time. And at the end of the day, I didn't come up to somebody and say, God, you had a great day. B+. I think you could have been a little more peppy. Nobody does this. The idea that we have to grade, I think, is just overemphasize something fierce. So, we wanted to show us beyond simple math and science. Why STEAM? I don't think I have to convince you guys. It's the one stat I love is that if you're in a STEAM job, there are 4 openings for you. Okay? If you're in a non-STEAM job coming up, there are 4 people competing for your 1 job. All right? 1 for 4, 4 for 1. That's the simple stat. And the kid says, I don't like math. I'm like, do you like to eat? All right? That's all right. And the real thing, guys, is research is pretty straightforward. If you solve problems, you make more money. And I don't care if you're a musician that solves problems, an English major, it does not matter. If you can solve problems, you make more money. So we started down the funding challenges, grants, avoid the F word, fundraising. We made business partnerships. We had sponsorships. The one thing I think you can feel about me is I don't let money get in the way, but you don't need a lot of money. And so we started small. And hopefully I can make this play. This is supposed to play while I can talk. And this is our first competition. If you tell that it's Christmas time. Oh, shoot, sorry. What happened there? That didn't work. Don't touch anything. There we go. So what you're looking at is a homemade ramp, some CDs, some balsa wood, a mouse trap, about $3 a kid, teams of 2 to 3. You're seeing the end, you're seeing the glory. About $3 a student is what the investment was. $300 for our high school then. You see here, it's kids that did this during homeroom prep, and every student had to participate. No grade. Now that meant some challenges. It meant that a month before this event, if you didn't have your card on, I still made it, you set all your unmade pieces on the ramp and see if it would go up as a pre-tile. And you can see that we're having a lot of fun with this. And this was a half-day, Christmas day, that was kind of not the most educationally productive day we had in the past. We didn't know what it was called, have it in mind. We just knew that we had to solve some problems. We had to get students to just complete tasks, to fight through a problem. Because guys, there are students coming to me all the time with the thing like, my car won't work. I'm like, just keep trying. Just keep trying. And living by my motto, which in math class too, is be less helpful. My motto is be less helpful in this situation. And I look now, it's kind of funny because I see graduates. Almost all these kids are gone. They're out there solving problems. The idea that they can do things and make it work. All right? And these are on the internet. If you want to search out all our STEM stuff, it's called Juda STEAM, Juda STEM, because that's what we called it at the beginning. It didn't take a lot of money. Now, that meant the English teacher, by the way, during homeroom was watching 3 STEM teams. The social studies teacher was watching 3 STEM teams. The business teacher was watching 3 STEM teams. But they didn't have to do anything because we don't want to help them. We just had to make sure they're kind of on task, kind of push them along, just cheerlead a little bit. Say, you can, you can, you can. You know? And, you know, this is what we were doing. And this is where it started. And at first, I'm not going to lie, students balk. They don't want to do this, right? What's my grade? There's no grade. You don't get graded in the world. And you have to sell that hard. So, I'll pause this. But again, it goes on for 8 minutes. It shows the champion. A student of ours made a trophy, a traveling trophy now that we post the names on. He's gone, but that's where we were. And this is where it started. And it started with the idea of just persistence and problem solving. That was our only 2 keys. And this is math and science. This is how we solve problems. This is what we can do. And any school can do this. All right? And it's homeroom. 1 day a week, 12 periods. Accumulating, ending on this 3-hour event. And it's not a lot of time and it's not a lot of money. But it does give you the opportunity to write some bigger grants. And then we did write grants. Mary wrote grants. I just came up and said, I want this stuff.
Well, the team came up and said that
yes.
they would like these things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was probably 3 years ago that we wrote the first Monsanto grant for $10,000. I had no grant writing experience. No one really did, but we thought we'd try it. And we had a bunch of farmers nominate us, which is the beginning step. So, and what we did was that first $10,000 we got, we invested into solar car kits and the robots that you see up there. I mean, the $10,000 is a lot of money for us. I mean, I'm sure it is for you guys too. There's no way we could have done it without the grant funding.
But so these were Tetrix kits. The big thing we did is I used my Algebra 2 class to pick the robots between Vex and Tetrix to do the price comparisons, to do all the shopping. I used my Algebra 2 class to design all the competitions, typically. And again, I won't lie, I make trades. If your Algebra 2 class is going to spend a week picking robots, so at the end we didn't get some conics. I have an administration where we understand that that's an easy trade. Problem solving, cost comparison, those things, that's what the world needs. You know, making projects, building consensus. Those skills are the things we practice. But in the end, the actual robot construction again, ended in a competition that looked like this. This took us into, this was in January. We had to give them a few more sessions about what it was, you know, bringing in the kits, the boxes.
Well, because each kit, these robotic kits, was about $350, and because it had hundreds of parts. So, you know, we had to teach kids about doing inventory and things like that. The things you're seeing here, we were fortunate enough to become part of a UW Platteville grant where our STEM team went for 3 summers, the last 3 summers for 2 weeks, and we worked with professors and other people out in the communities that helped us come up with different STEM activities for our kids. When we did the robots, we thought one of the first things that we would teach the kids is, you know, how does gearing work, you know? I mean, part of the competition was to how do you maneuvering your robot around. And this was that gear activity was something that we learned at Platteville. And you can see his enthusiasm here. He likes to be on the camera.
Well, listen, I would record these so the homeroom teachers could run these. So that it was just one message going out about what the competition was, what the rules were. And they could just YouTube it and play it, 3 minutes usually. And then students would break in their groups. You could tell it's homecoming. There's a banana suit. So you got a time frame for the time. That's my daughter. But again, all the students, they get involved. We made this is the first year we did what I would call cross teams, and we'll cover right to bitter brass tacks. A student, B student, D student, first year. All right? I'll never make that mistake again. Now it's, you know, I want 3 go-getters all on the same team so they have to fight it out. And then I want 3 kids who want to try to hide. I want them all on the same team so they have to make a deliverable. And that's what we've been doing now for the last few years. And again, driving the students to show me. So when a kid doesn't perform, that's fine. You got some days they sit there and they don't do anything. You gotta have that be okay. Oh, I wish the video, I should turn up the sound here. Skyler's just telling him how he's gonna win. That's his thing right here. He's just saying, I'm gonna win today. You know, he put a lot of time in the robot kids' cars, and I'm having a problem getting the volume up here. But, yeah.
So these were the solar cars that we had the middle school working on. So when we have the high school working on the robotics during homeroom, we have the middle school working on the solar cars during the same time. And when he talks about the staff, or I mean the students having a hard time persevering through this, it was a little difficult too with the staff in the beginning too, that, you know, it's normal for teachers just to want to help. And when you just sit there and say, figure it out, it caused a lot of guilt in some people. It was hard.
I didn't have any guilt.
Well, I know you don't.
Okay.
But, you know, most teachers do. That's, you know, they're standing there for, 45 minutes in a classroom just making sure, their only job is to make sure no one needs a Band-Aid or something like that. And there was no direction from them.
Yeah. And again, this is a good example of a kit that you could afford. The solar kits, and I just used VSCO. And again, the less instructions, the better. So, like in our case, we actually pulled the instructions out of the cars, out of the kits for the middle schoolers. Because again, if you want kids to problem solve, you want them to think about things. You want them to have it. And failure's okay. Failure was celebrated. Double elimination, you saw the cars at the very beginning. How many cars didn't go up at all? They built something that didn't work. Guys, that happens every single day in the world, right? We all know this. It's okay. And, this is part of making that whole idea that it's okay. And next year you can do better. And, here's why it didn't work. And in between, there's enough time in those competition days. Let's go, go back and work on it. And it's really funny because kids start helping kids.
Oh, that was...
Yeah,
that was the real awesome thing about it, is that you could really see kids that typically, like his phrase is, they don't play school well. They start emerging as leaders, and they just find their niche with these things. I mean, some of the kids that are kind of frequent flyers in the office, these are the kids that, they were the leaders with us. They just, it was so awesome to see them excel in something besides that. And you can say stuff to them then like, Braden, buddy, if you don't do some homework in English, you might not be able to leave study hall to work on your robot. All right? And again, I'm a big believer that, these are the things that, again, allow students to do. And again, you have to practice to be good at stuff. Right? You have to practice problem solving. You have to practice perseverance. You have to practice being frustrated and trying again. Those are not natural skills. What's the show? Nothing. And so on the gear project here, this first time was about just raising paper clips. Again, getting them used to the idea, and they're kind of used to me. And then my culture is, in my math room has always been, I don't show. I always put a problem on the board and say, can anybody solve this? This is what we're supposed to do today, but Miss Davis doesn't pay me enough money to show you first. So you better try without me. And that's the thing. Because in the world, the big problems don't have instruction books. In the world, the people who really can solve the problems are the ones that just hang on. A lot of times it's not the smartest guy, it's this guy who grinds it out. And we talk about that and those things. Can we win twice? Yes. Yes.
And, we don't make, and this is a point where we don't not make mistakes when you do these things. So we were so excited about this. We bought some Arduino boards to put on the robots. That did not go like we thought it would.
No, we kind of went with the same philosophy as hands off, and that, yeah. So that was a good example of us maybe failing just a little bit, but then refiguring out how to make it work the next time with the kids.
Because the idea was that they would put these Arduino boards on, and on the robots, and make the robots follow a line into the arena, and program the line follow. And it was all doable. And I know, let's be clear about this. I have never built one robot I have never programmed one Arduino. I have never built one mousetrap car. Because then when they ask me, I can honestly say, I don't know. My paycheck comes either way. That's one of my favorite answers. But the Arduinos, what happened was, is it was too much to bite off. Now, the funny part was, 100 kids, 15 got it. And we challenged those 15 to help everybody else get it, but we had to remove it off the competition. And so it's a flowing target. So in the end, and the Lego Mindstorms were really cool for the middle schoolers. They like Legos. So in the end, they all had to make their robot line walk, and I can start playing this, ahead of the competition. I want you to put your robot on the floor with the program, get it from Samantha, get it from Trent, get it from Nate, you know, some of the people who'd gotten in our small school, just have them help you. But then we had what we called sumo wrestling. And, and this is kind of showing a progression about where we're at in the Lego Mindstorms, but is this the all picture ones?
Those look like the solar cars.
Yeah, the solar cars. But,
and yeah, last year
I
we
forgot
had,
he came.
yeah, for our competition, we had Tony Evers come to watch the thing with it. It was a very, very big deal for us. Our whole entire school board was there, which again was phenomenal. It was the middle of the day. Dennis Fingston, our school board president, is here supporting us today. We couldn't do this without their support, and that of Tracy Davis. Our local legislative representatives came, and it was professors from UW-Platteville that were helping us out. It was quite the day for us, and kind of what they talked about this morning, it was excellent publicity for the school, and really got to showcase a lot of things that we're doing, including what we're doing in the elementary for STEM as well.
And that's a big roll-off then. Once we started 612, was rolling down into the elementary, about, you know, because again, the hardest part with the high school kids is training them. You know, last session they talked about you got to train 5th graders. Well, they're trainable. You know, sometimes it's harder to train 9th through 12th graders. They're trainable, it takes more work. And the big thing here is that, again, you see students building, you see students thinking, all right? These are the things that we should be trying to make sure as kids do. And once they get that persistence and that mindset, that rolls off. That's what I need in math class. I need kids who just won't quit. A kid who won't quit is a kid, I guarantee I'll get all the maths they ever need for their life, for the skills they're gonna have to have. You know, so, and again, working our way through, let's skip forward a little bit. And again, there it is. So just a simple ring where you lined up our cars, and then, you know, 2 bots enter, 1 bot leaves. You know, you don't want to be the one pushed out. And ran the competition throughout the day, lots of fixing and working. And again, I can't stress enough, kids helping kids, working together, figuring out the problems, making the builds, making the repairs, staying in the stands and kind of cheering each other on. This is what we were doing. Oh, bringing in the kindergartners to watch. You know, brainwashing the next generation. You know, that's what I called it. I told them, you know.
They were so excited. That's my favorite picture.
Yeah, they were extremely excited. And now it's part of the culture. We're on year 4. You know, the big thing that gets asked is what day is STEM day, and when do we get our robot kits? You know, because we've been doing some different STEM things to start off this year again. More team building, more quick projects. We're trying to add more things like that. And I got a couple at the end, but like last week we built paper towers, meter tall, that hold a book, you know, with no tape. The week before, we did, what was the week before?
Oh, the paper cup, or the plastic cup.
Plastic cup challenge is about working together, using rubber bands and stacking cups. You know, those are things that, again, as groups, for a homeroom period, it is a great team building exercise, working together.
So that's the rest of our STEAM team there.
Yeah, it's not working very well. There it goes. And again, it's a team. It is a team. I guess we should make sure we mention that there is 8 of us now, and we've pulled in the elementary. We make sure we're doing that. I don't know if that's how you spell thrice.
Well, that's how you spell it.
That's
so.
all right. But
But yeah, so we won the Monsanto grant again,
Yeah.
3 years in a
Not an
row,
English
so, another $10,000, and this year we are, huh?
Can I buy my printer?
No.
Okay.
This year, we are going down into the elementary with it, and we've purchased a bunch of Rock and Bot kits. I don't know if any of you are familiar with those, but actually I think it was when we went to Lake Mills to visit that they had them, and awesome. Elementary just loves them. We also have, we jumbled our schedules around a little bit, and one of our teachers is now also our K-12 STEM coordinator, and she's actually going into the classroom, the elementary classrooms once a week and doing STEM activities with them. Coding, we've partnered with code.org, and we're doing a lot of stuff on that side as well.
What
Yeah.
grades? Sorry, what grades? With,
The coding,
yeah.
First through,
last year we did
Eighth?
kindergarten. Kindergarten
Kindergarten.
was just a little bit too little, so I think this year we're gonna do with first grade all the way up through. We did our business ed teacher from the high school is teaching computer science classes, and I know for bigger schools this has been going on for a long time, but for us it's kind of a big deal. You know, we don't have a computer science teacher. You know, it's just.
well, I
We have to
think,
be very creative with our scheduling, obviously, like I'm sure you guys know.
and again, you can do a lot of things with code. And it can be little things. And if you're just gonna take one thing back, hour of code in December is an easy thing to do. I do it in my math classes still right now. I shut my math classes down for a week every December and run hour of code. And again, it's great logical thinking skills, it's great problem solving skills, it's the things that you want to do. It can go all the way down to easily elementary.
Mm-hmm.
So, the big thing we learned in the last 2 years of our STEM grant was that what we're really trying to do is teach habits of mind. And I think that's become more buzz since we started doing this. We are trying to teach students to problem solve and persevere, all right? I mean, that's the one skill I think that this teaches better than anything, guys, is perseverance. You can do this and have students succeed. They understand that failure is just moving along. It's changed a lot how I teach in my classroom. I'm a high school math teacher who refuses to put scores on top of anything anymore. There are no scores. I don't get me wrong, I grade quizzes and I grade tests. I just don't put scores on them anymore.
In green.
And I grade green, because green is a nice color. And listen, these are things that they talk about in the books. The research is pretty clear. Green's a common color, red isn't. I used to be Captain Red, These are the things and the small changes, for me, this taught me, I have a 100% retake policy. 100%. And I always have people say, well, what if a kid, just looks at your test the first time and just doesn't study? Fine. Does he come in and learn it later? Okay. You think the second one's easier than the first one, by the way? No. You think a kid who's going to do that to me I'm going to let him have the same rules? If Dennis comes in and keeps doing it, I'm going to pull his Dennis aside and say, hey, Dennis, I'm done letting you have freebies, buddy. You don't have to have the same rules. 100% retake. And when I say that, guys, I will let a student on January 30th take the quiz from September 5th. And I will change their semester grade. I do not care about time. I do not care. We're teaching persistence, we're teaching problem solving. Do we care when a kid learns to read? I don't think so. And that's a lot of my journey, guys. I was a struggling reader in elementary. Didn't read to the 5th grade. Just doesn't matter. And that's where you can pull away from these projects. So this habit in STEM promotes that we are striving for that end. That's what we're doing. And it can be done for low dollars. I can't stress enough, sometimes when we do this presentation, people get caught in the robots. They're cool. And you can find people to partner with. People will buy you kits. $300 a kit, you can have half robot kits, businesses, locals. I support my entire math team by sending out a letter once every 2 years where I take about 50 kids out of the 100. And they all get free pizza and free t-shirts. That's how you get 50 kids out of a high school of 100 to go with you. There are people who are willing to pay for these things. You just got to find them. It's a little bit of time.
What's the t-shirt say on it?
Every year is different. This year it's absolute value, it says J of X, absolute value of X, avoid negativity. My favorite t-shirt was the one with Darth Vader on, it said, avoid the dark side, come to the dark side, we have pie.
Oh, and believe me, I approve them, because there's a few.
I have had a couple that Mrs. Davis won't approve, so I thought they were funny.
They were funny, but inappropriate.
But if you want, listen, if you ever want,
Coloring too far outside the lines.
Yeah.
and listen, you
We
talk
do
about,
rein 'em in once
I will
in a
take the sidebar on the math team thing. You take a kid to a math team test who's not exactly a mathematician, you tell them, you're supposed to get 1 right. If you get 1 right out of 10 today, that is a victory. And all of a sudden, that's who I'm, I got some top end kids, I'm saying, hey, we should try to get 8. Now I got kids I'll take, and it's like, get 1 or 2. Because that day, they are talking math more than any other day of the year. I mean, that's the victory on the math team side. That's why literally we took 2 buses to UW Platteville's math meet last year. Because I couldn't fit all the kids on one. We're STEAM now.
Yep, our art teacher became involved, and we added a whole nother segment to our competition by adding computer design logos and things like that. Kids that weren't, I'm one of those people, I'm just not mechanically inclined, and it was, I might be, 30 years ago I might have been that 3rd person on the team that just kind of sat there and let the other 2 kids do it. But then we added this other component to it, and suddenly those kids that aren't really mechanically inclined, this is something that they really want to do. This is something they can do. So that's kind of some of the things that our art teacher brings to it. That picture there is with us working at Platteville. I just want to say really quick too, I don't know how much time we've got left, but it's really important. So there's 8 of us, you think, on the STEM team, the STEAM team? That's 1/3 of our staff. It's building momentum. We're the coolest committee in the school. But it's a lot of commitment too. We've spent a lot of summers during the summertime. You don't have a lot of time to plan during the school year. There's always things going on. During this summertime that we're together for Platteville, this is when we plan out our whole entire project for the whole entire year. We would, it's part of our credits that we're getting for being at Platteville for the grant, but it's also the only time that we really can hammer out, the days that we're going to start the competition, things like that. It was kind of nice because always right during this time that we had this going on, that was when we found out if we got the Monsanto grant, so then we knew if we had the money to move forward. That was pretty exciting too, but it takes a little bit of time and it's a commitment. You really got to have people that are dedicated to the vision.
I have a question. Do you see any correlation to these things that kids are learning how to do, resiliency, work through failure, persevere into any of your discipline areas? Have you seen improved discipline issues?
We've never had what I would say a lot of discipline issues at our school, but I will say that when you can start using STEM time to help create kids to do homework time, that you're seeing a positive benefit that way. I think there's less discipline because, again, as kids get used to failure, that's a whole different component, but I have no proof of that. I would love to say something, I'd love to lie for you, I really would, but I believe it, that's the truth.
I've taught school for 40 years, and I'm seeing now where the kids they are really critical thinkers. And are you finding this too, or is it just the kids that I'm working with that I'm finding are critical thinkers?
I think what's happened a little bit, 2 things. I think kids are willing to look critically and put their first idea out. One thing I've noticed with kids without practice nowadays is that when that first idea fails, they tend just to go, oh, that's it. That didn't work, I guess, let's move on to the next thing. It's that persistence thing I've seen that I talk about, that kids won't stick to it. And it's something that has to be taught. You have to talk about it, and that's something that this does. Very few, well, none. None of these kids, none of these projects you see up here work the first time. None of them. And You know, I was in the industry for 12 years. I did design equipment for 12 years. None of my stuff worked the first time, you know. So, you know, from the critical standpoint, you know, kids always have ideas. They're looking. The internet has made a huge difference. I don't try to hide it. They can use it. They find ideas faster. You know, and again,
It's
so
just fun having conversations with them.
Oh,
And
yeah.
one of the examples that was pointed out to me was a third grader said, I had said, this was your mother's dress. I'm giving it to your cousin. And he looked at me and he said, you mean you saved that 43 years, Grandma? You know, and so he did the math. He was really thinking more than the point I was trying to make. But it's really fun having discussions with these kids who do critically think.
Yeah, I agree. And well, that's one of the reasons we set up too. We have a middle school rotation class, Odyssey of the Mind. We use that as a class, a rotation class. I teach it now in an engineering class that's certified through UW Oshkosh. It's CAP, so it's 2 credits at UWO. Those are the type of things you can start to do. And again, the big thing for us is projects. You know, get their hands on things, make them do things, and then sit back. I mean, I literally, once I get them rolling, after the first couple sessions, can grade math quizzes. I can do other things. I can play it. And then get up in a 45-minute, or how long is our class? 38.
Yeah.
And our 30, you know, get up, do a little cheerleading at the beginning, do some stuff, go back, do a little cheerleading at the end. And that's where I think the real power of this is again, that persistence. Mary's going to get me a new 3D printer. This one's broke, but you know, what's next? We have gotten the STEM lab now, and we're going to add a 3D printer to it, and that's part of this grant. We're just waiting right now to see how much money the elementary needs and how much money is left over from the third Monsanto grant. I bought a little M3D, well, I didn't buy it. I asked 2 businesses, and they each put in $200. And I made that $400 printer grind out for 7 straight months. And you get what you pay for in this world. So after 7 straight months, she was pretty well done. But at the same time, they learned a lot of problem solving with that, because every day I said the same thing to that engineering class. Why is my printer not running? And they'd be like, it's broken. I'm like, I don't care. You know, go make it, you know, make it work. Okay? Additional classes, we're working on AP Computer Science, stuff like that. Again, donors choose, Monsanto, local businesses I think are the big one, guys. Grande Cheese up the hill has been a huge supporter of this for us. Jordan Implement in our town has been a huge supporter. Carter and Grunwald, which is a Bobcat dealer who does front-end supplies. L&S Truck, that's a mechanic shop. These are the people who are putting money into this project when we need it. Because there just isn't the funds. All right? There just isn't the funds, but it doesn't take a lot of money. All right? You can do a lot of mousetrap. There's a lot of things for MIT, and I'm more than willing to share and give you what I have. But it just, you know, there are organizations. I'm an optimist, and if you don't have an optimist in your area, just go further away. Because a lot of times we don't have an optimist club in Juda. We have an optimist club in Monroe, who still funds Juda. We have an optimist club in Broadhead that will still fund Juda. Those are the places you can find some funding. And it changes the culture. Students doing things. Over here, my son was giving me crap, and I did the graduation speech last year, and I learned how to post on my story. You know, but doing stuff with the kids, you know, and building the towers. And here's a tower. And this is actually a video. We got Cole there. He's taking the ruler as a baseball bat after he built it, and he knocks it over. We have sprint projects supporting both small catapults to large catapults. The engineering class, my engineering class, just built a tornado for the Wizard of Oz musical. And let's see if this works. And you know, it's the simple things that teach a lot.
Now I know how it works.
Work.
And they set the fire alarm off too, but that's just another
No,
story.
the cost of doing business. There it is. There's a tornado.
Wow.
And it's translating and rotating. If you think that is easy, come down to Jude and I'll show you that it's not. Oh, and then our instruction video. So, because she could pick on me about the alarm, but we actually made an instruction video on it, you know, about how to do it. Hi, Mariah. Crash course in being the tornado. So there you go. If you want to know how to be a tornado, There's a video on YouTube under Juda STEAM to teach you how. All right? But the point is, these are the things we can do. These are the projects kids can start to take on. Where 8 years ago in our school, I would not have dreamed of assigning that to kids. Too much possibility for error, not enough time, probably wouldn't have got it done. We do Rube Goldberg's. Again, you talk about low dollars, and you get in project work. This is a good one because if you, oops, I got the wrong link. All right. This took my engineering class 4 class periods, plus some study hall time. This is in our new STEM lab, where it's set out for days. Yeah, it's anticipation is almost killer, isn't it? And the fan runs. Oh my goodness, it works. Nice job. So there you can tell the voice of a teacher who thought that should take 2 days and it took 4. But again, projects like that, and again, catapults in engineering. You know, you start to do projects, guys, and that's because I know we're running on the end of the time here, but you want to talk about the easiest grading system ever? Hit me. Oh, and I do a lot of this on Facebook.
Engineering
You hit me with the tennis ball, you get 100.
Catapult.
I'm standing
in the center of my two concentric circles. They are approximately 80 feet away. I'm standing here. If they hit me, they get an A.
Is it a pie? Tennis ball.
No, tennis ball. One year they soaked it in water and froze it.
Ooh, ouch.
And I looked them in the eye and I knew the group and I was like, you guys can't hit anything, go ahead and use it. And they missed. I've never been hit. This is the closest it's been. One of these shots went by my ear.
All right, there's a B.
That was pretty close.
Oh, they missed.
Oh, this is it. No, maybe not. Somewhere I got a comment about hating seniors. Because we had to do it in the rain. This is the last day before
Another reason to
graduation.
hate seniors, standing in the rain so they can shoot it.
Yeah,
There you go.
And again,
Yep.
time, a little bit of
A
scrap
minus.
lumber.
I'm ready.
You know, you go to the hardware store for a few springs. We had a prize. These guys here built theirs all out of steel, welded it. They called the local steel shop and got all the steel donated. I helped them with I gave them we made a script together, and that's where they got the Monroe truck. They donated all the steel. So,
I think going back to some of your comments, for me, some of the employers we talk to, you know, what skills are you missing? Those soft skills, working together, communicating. That's why I like it, because we put everybody into groups. They're all working in groups, high school, middle school, working with kids that they may never talk to otherwise. So for me, it's more about some of those other skills that they're learning. Yes, this is all important, but, and again, it's every teacher in the school. It's not just Mr. Anderson or the science teacher. It's English, social studies, everyone is buying into this. Otherwise, it really wouldn't work. They're the designers, and you know, but everyone supports it, and it's been a really neat process to see.
Any questions?
you can do it. You can do it. It's not as you can start with small projects.
Although they're catapulting Barbies today, so I'm kind of scared of what's happening at home.
How many projects throughout the year?
We do one big one, and then like on the sprint projects, like the paper towers, there's like 5 sprint projects, and then we do one project usually at the end. Because what happens to us in the spring, we use our flex at the end of the day, and we lose so many kids for track and baseball that we have to be done before March 15th. Softball, track, and baseball, literally, we have kids leaving usually at 1:30, unfortunately. And now that our flex is at the end of the day, because we co-op, so we finished one big project is what we're doing. Now, all these little projects, like in my classrooms, the math classrooms, the orienteering projects, I try to do one project every 2 weeks in every class. That's aggressive, I don't get that. That's the target. I get one a month usually. So.
So when you talk about your Arduinos, and so kind of not a failure, but so is it part of understanding what they can do?
The programming language was much more difficult than the brochure said it would be. They talked about being able to drag and drop like the code stuff, and it was much more difficult than that.
We even had 2 students, one that went to UW or Minnesota, and then my son came back from UW-Madison and played with it too. So we had some alumni come back and even try to help and do that. I think it was the 2 of them that came back. So it was a little more, and so we could see. And then at that point, things were kind of a little frustrating. So the STEAM team, actually, we pulled in a kid from each class as like almost like a committee and said, okay, what's working, what's not working. So we got the kids, and they're like, we're just not getting it. And they gave suggestions.
Like an advisory board.
Yeah, more like an advisory
And
board.
that actually sticks still now. So.
It was also last year that we started our high school computer science class, which had the Arduino programming in it, but later on in the second semester, in hindsight, some of them are getting more experience with it now.
It's a great way to look a student in the eye and say, listen, I screwed up. Don't worry, I'll still sleep at night, and we'll try it again next year. And we're going to find a way to incorporate them. But I see it more now, on the computer side, the engineering side, some things like that. If you're not willing to step and make mistakes, kind of hypocritical. So, but that's what I fall on the sword for that one. I thought we could do it. I was a big proponent of it. I was like, yeah, we can do this.
So that's why there's a team, because sometimes you have to say, all right, here's some details, or here's some other things. So
Details.
yeah.
Details.
Yeah.